bad trade paperback flocking to the
I am joined by the amazing Allison O'Toole, Dan Price, Andre Owen, Fred Kennedy, Chip Zdarsky. Chip, thanks for coming.
What's up, folks? I'm your host, Konrad, on a Wednesday Night Reviews, and tonight I'm joined by Luke and John, and we're going to talk about their new book, Summer's End, which is on Kickstarter now. Guys, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Thanks for having me again, Konrad.
Absolutely. Happy to have you. And yeah, my first easy question for the folks out there in YouTube land who've maybe never seen either of your faces, never heard either of your names. I guess we'll start with, who is Luke Henderson?
Well, some of your listeners probably already know me because I've been on here before, but yeah, Luke Henderson is a writer of too many things at once. I do reviews and articles for Comic Book Yeti. I also write comic strips, short stories, and poetry, as well as I run a zine making group for the Comic Jam, where we do the Crit One series of zines that we've just funded our second issue this year.
Love it. And who is John Jack?
I draw comics. I live in Seattle. I'm a carpenter in my non-comics time. I've drawn a few shorts for books like Containment Breach, as well as have some work in Project Starless Daydream, and then draw a lot of stuff for myself and sometimes the Comic Jam as well.
Love it. Well, great spots to put yourself in. Great job at just keeping working. That is the hardest part of this. Yeah, from what I've seen so far, the image that I've seen upon the campaign for Summer's End, specifically your half of it, looks great. So speaking of which, whomever maybe has the spiel down better, can either of you tell us what exactly is Summer's End?
I'll take the lead on this. So Summer's End is a manga-inspired double feature of action romance tales. We got two stories. They're both one's 10 pages and one's 12 pages long. And they're both they were both originally supposed to be in a different anthology, but that anthology had to be canceled, unfortunately, and we just didn't want these stories to die. So nice. We put them together because we just happened to realize that they kind of fit. The first one, Heard You Got Somebody, is a superhero breakup drama. Basically, we got our guy there you can almost see on the screen called The Smear, who's kind of got that luchador-inspired mask. He gave his partner, Lo, her powers through her own mask. But now that they're broken up and the wounds have healed somewhat a bit, he wants his stuff back. But obviously that's a big part of her identity now because she is a superhero in her own right, and she's got her own powers, and she's got her own new man now named Steven. And so there's going to be a little bit of tussling with that. And then our second story, which is John and I's, is The Unity of Vapors, which is kind of a star-crossed lovers sci-fi alien story where we got a fireman and an iceman who are on opposing sides of an army. And they have to meet in secret because their love is forbidden. And they find out that the next day, one of their generals is going to declare a debtor's challenge where the best warriors of each army must fight to the death. And the winner gets the other indebted to them for 100 years. And so they both know that they're going to have to fight because they are each the best warriors of their armies. So they have to make a choice. Is it going to be their love or is it going to be their people?
I love it. It's... When you originally contacted me, Luke, about getting on the show and talking about it, when I saw the title of the original or the whole thing, Summer's End, it immediately made me think of things like, and maybe this is showing my age or just my nerdiness, but Love Hina and sort of the classic, what I think of as classic anyway, sort of romance anime about sort of what happens over summer break when you're teenagers and stuff. Obviously, these stories are not about teenagers. They're about grown people who've been through gone through a few things. And so I guess what I wanted to touch on first, and I was interested to talk about was, given the sort of classic structure of Summer's End and the things that made me think of, what made the team want to go with that type of, I guess branding is the word, when it comes to what you're making people think about with the title, given the age of the characters and sort of what they go through?
So Richie and he's the other writer. Early on, we talked about just how much each of our stories were really inspired by manga and anime, and so that was a part of the reason for the choice. Was just it felt fitting because of the art direction and because of the stories, and just Summer's End is kind of a good short way to kind of talk about what both the stories are about, because they're about endings, but at the end of summer is also the beginning of fall. So like the seasons change, like new things are happening, new things are growing, like our characters through their trials and tribulations are going to get stronger through their relationships, through all these complications.
Love it. Well, it absolutely worked for me. It conjured that exact kind of idea. And I guess, I next, obviously, I've got half of the creators in the whole book here. You guys have created a story together. So do please tell me a little bit. You've got to give us a good synopsis of Unity of Vapors. What made you want to tell that type of story of that particular type of heartbreak? We'll start with Luke on that. And then John, when it came to basically rendering it, making it so that we could see it, read it, and enjoy it, what were some of the challenges, and I don't want to say benefits is the right word, but the things that you enjoyed about it?
Gotcha. So I always try to tell stories with especially male characters that involve some sort of a vulnerability. I wanted to show, especially in this, big, tough, manly kind of warrior type character, that like there can be some tender, some touching moments, and like sometimes your love is going to be put up against the wall, and that thing is just heightened when you get to this kind of high fantasy, high sci-fi kind of drama. So I really wanted to touch upon just basically give the boys a moment to have their feels in the big stage of drama.
I love it.
From a standpoint of rendering, I do a lot of landscape painting and stuff, so I've been trying to incorporate a lot of that into my backgrounds and do some more like kind of sweeping backgrounds, which I don't get to do a lot in comics unless I'm drawing like a Western.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's fun. My background is primarily drawing like noir and like close up, intense, heavily shaded scenes and stuff like that. This is actually my first time drawing romance, and it's definitely creating some interesting challenges. Like there was a panel that was in the scroll that you just did where there's two hands separating, and that's like that right there. That took a minute to draw.
Yeah.
And because like the hands intertwined and stuff is not something that like I was at an art market one time selling art, and someone was like, "You draw a lot of people getting shot." Like, I do. And there's none of that in this, but there's a lot of really nice sweeping heartfelt scenes, and it's nice to do some kind of alternative emoting in my art that I don't normally do, while still keeping like the light and values really dynamic and interesting. I'm mostly using brush pens or brushes and brush pens. But I am using a gray brush pen for the first time with sequential work in this, and it's to get that really nice grayscale, and I think it's paying off really well.
I mean, I agree. One thing I did want to ask, and I from what I'm seeing, it feels obvious to me, but I always like to ask just to be clear. The way you're drawing this, you're actually physically drawing pen to paper as opposed to doing it digital with like a pseudo brush, right?
Oh yeah, these are 11 by 17, or actually it's 12 by 15 watercolor paper I'm drawing on.
Right on. And when it, like you said, you've previously done sort of a lot of landscapes, Western stuff like that, and then noir. When it comes to pivoting to fantasy now and romance, especially with characters who are quite literally fire and ice, what kind of weird challenges did that come? Because you're not drawing like dudes in suits with hats and guns under their cloaks. You're drawing, these big warriors. Yeah, what was that like?
Yeah, well, it is interesting coming up with all these like different character designs and stuff like that for some of the like warrior outfits, because it's more almost sword and sorcery inspired, the outfits, which I do very much enjoy a Conan the Barbarian, so
awesome.
So that's a fun thing that I don't get to do very often.
Well, I'm glad to hear Luke's getting you into some new territory. And Luke, when it comes to sort of the art direction and I guess the level of control you're allowing John to have, I always do like to ask, when it comes to the script that you've handed John, how much sort of granular detail did you give? How much room for just John to do his thing was there? Oh,
Did Luke freeze?
I think he might have frozen. Okay. Well, while we suss that out,
I can also feel that it's Luke.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, Luke. He's provided a decent amount of setting, and I've also, I try to check in and just be like, what part of the world are we in? What's our setting? Like, are we talking like forests? Are we talking like mountains, the desert?
Right on. Okay. Let's see here. And welcome back, Luke.
Yeah, sorry, my internet's terrible.
It's all good. Yeah, like John was saying, that when it comes to the level of control you give him, it's pretty open, and he'll sometimes ask, details about where they are, stuff like that. From your half of that, Luke, what was your scripting on this story like?
Fairly open, if I remember. Like, John had a lot of good questions for me, like what kind of planet is this? Like, are the forests like coniferous or deciduous? And I was just like, oh wait, what? Like, but that's why John's the artist and I'm not, because he's got to think about those things, because the backgrounds and stuff are so important. And so, like, I actually did a little research too, and I was like, oh, I think I want this type of landscape. And I was like, actually, it seems like also in this landscape, sometimes the sky is purple. And then, like, John was like, Luke, this is going to be a grayscale piece. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right.
Interesting. So I do want to get back into the theme of the story and sort of the reason for exploring it. But I do want to touch on the fact that it is grayscale. So, John, given your sort of noir background, obviously grayscale is right in line with that. But we do have the cover as well, which is done in color. I've gone the wrong direction. There we go. Is there a particular choice behind why it's grayscale? Like, is it a style thing? Is it printing costs are easier when it's grayscale? Is it like, what were the main drives?
Well, early on, the book was specified to be black and white, and I've done a lot of work in black and white, and I'm happy to do black and white. But I was like, is grayscale okay? Because I have done grayscale for sequential stuff, but not so much in like a longer format. Mm-hmm. Like usually more like a one pagers for the Comics Jam. I've done ink wash on. stuff like that. That cover is painted by me as well, and that's watercolor actually.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Well, you are getting some. Oh, go ahead, Lou.
I was just gonna say John's the most talented one on this book and is doing the most work because we got a cover from them. They're doing my story, and they also lettered the other story. So just like triple duty here.
Oh my God, John, that's a lot, dude. Like,
Yeah, I'm lettering our story too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess from the perspective of the person also doing the art, at least you can give yourself the room to go, wait, a speech bubble has to go here. And
oh God, I
not...
hope I did that though, because I haven't lettered it yet.
We will find out.
I've burned myself before.
You know what? It's one of those things I've definitely heard a number of times where people are like, oh God, I should have, not having realized. So I hope you did.
Usually with me, it's more of a, man, I really shouldn't have spent 2 hours on that background when there was a speech bubble taking up 3/4 of that panel.
Oh no.
This has happened more than once.
Well,
luckily for you, John, I'm a good writer, and we will do a lettering pass, and I will chop down some of that dialogue to make the art, sing.
Hell yeah!
I love it. See, folks, if you're out there thinking of making a comic, a little bit of compromise, a little bit of teamwork can go a very long way. So we're 17 minutes in, and right around now is the time I like to ask about the tiers and all that stuff. But first, I just want to say, you've got it. This is Canadian dollars, by the way, Canadian dollars. So of your Canadian dollar goal of $1,374, I'm guessing it's like 1,000 USD.
Yep.
So you're at 747. So you're just past 50%. You've got 24 backers. You've got a whole 18 days left. So 2 weeks and 4 days, plenty of time to get the other, 45%, I think that sounds right, to go. But for the folks out there, what are some of the tiers that you guys are offering? And obviously they're getting your story, but they're also getting another story within this. But yeah, what are some of the tiers if someone wants just a digital copy, say a physical, and then what are some of the bigger tiers?
Yep. So we got what you probably would expect from most Kickstarters. We got digital and physical with multiple covers, but we are offering a digital deluxe edition. I've seen multiple writers and Kickstarters do this lately, and I love the idea. So with the digital deluxe edition, it's $5 extra, but you're going to get scripts, you're going to get concept art. Me and Richie are actually going to interview each other too, and that interview is going to be included in the back of the book. If you also wanted all 3 covers, but just digitally, it's going to be in that edition as well. So, yeah, I've seen a lot of really cool things with these lately, like Anthony Stokes, who does Decay and Intrusive Thoughts, his back matter stuff. It was so very good. Like, I actually just reread Tap or Die recently that he's been doing. Yeah. And the interview he has in the back of issue 1 is it's so fun to read because he in the interview, you're kind of give each other some shit for a little bit. So that's part of it too. But like you get to really dig deep into like what's going to happen in the story and like the choices that Anthony made. But so I definitely want to do that. I'm going to design our back matter stuff to look like it's the social media feed of these characters to make it even more fun. So that way it's not just like a Microsoft Word document that I just slapped in the back.
Yeah. I like that. That's super cool. And that's in $10 US, it's 14 Canadian. It'll be a digital deluxe. So basically once it's done, it gets shipped on out. That's awesome. And yeah, let's keep going here for the physical stuff.
Yeah, so we got 3 great covers, one by John, one by our other artist, KV Gear. Just theirs is a super fun kind of selfie cover, which I love because one of my favorite covers that I have as a variant is it's Vampirella versus Purgatory, and they're both listening to an iPod with one headphone in each ear and like dancing. So like I love covers where it's characters doing things very out of character, like Vampirella listening to an iPod.
Yeah.
And then our last one is we got a spicy, not safe for work cover for anyone who's looking for that features both couples by Kamorian King. She's a fantastic artist, really known on Webtoons and Global Comics for her webcomic called Regnum Anticum. She loves drawing nice, muscly men, which was perfect for us because we got 3 men.
Love it.
And she's actually also running her own Kickstarter right now for her latest story called Blazerin, which also incidentally happened to be kind of a fire and ice or fire and water elements type people story, which was completely accidental.
So, Kumarian then was all geared up, ready to rock, and Luke, you just happened to go, hey, cover? Same type of characters? You're all ready to go anyway?
Yeah, Cam was in the Comic Jam with us briefly. I think she's more focused on doing her own long form work, but that's where I first met her, and just her art is just stunning. Like, it's digital, but it's got this like lovely painted, like super kind of like classical almost look, but like with a little bit of like anime cartoonishness to it. And I love her stuff. So I knew when we were gonna do this project and we were like the spicy cover, I was like, I know Cam will knock this out.
Awesome. Well, I don't think I'll be able to blow up the image here, but I know the banner for the campaign is that image, so I'll be sure to showcase that a little bit later on. Awesome.
Yeah. And then this is where we get the good goodies, because if you're wanting some custom art, we got mini sketches being offered by John and by KV Gear, and also further down we got original page art, which we've got 2 of those snatched up already, and I think I only offered 5, so those are running out. And actually, someone already bought John's painted cover, so that is gone for now. Hopefully, it stays gone.
Yeah.
But
awesome.
That's the lovely stuff we're offering. I do want to mention the first 48 hours, we did offer a free zine to everyone who backed in the first 48 hours, and if you missed that, it is available as an add-on. It's just a little 8-page zine that's going to have 2 2-page stories that just are kind of prequels about how these couples met. What's their meet cutes? And that one's called First of Spring.
Oh, I love it. The theming, Luke, is so perfect. Then I guess so we've covered the costs and all that stuff, which I love, especially for anyone out there who's never done a Kickstarter before. I like to make it easy, make them understand what they're getting. But yes, if they were absolutely just looking for the bare minimum, yes, you could get the basics for $5. Spend the $10, get the cool digital extra stuff, get the extra covers, have fun with it. And that spicy cover Luke was mentioning, I can't show the whole thing here because it's not included, but you get the idea, I think.
Yep.
Now, yeah. So one of the questions that I was sort of coming up with while I was going through the campaign and having to think about this was basically that in this story, the protagonists are literally ice and fire, which is a rather potent and volatile combo, much like those in Love Can Be. So within the story of Unity of Vapors, what made you want to go with that very oppositional character building type, I guess?
Well, to be completely honest, the original idea for Unity of Vapors started off as a dumb joke in my head. Just like, what would happen if a fire person and an ice person hugged? Ooh. But then it kind of went into a more serious direction the more I started to think about it. And I love it for kind of the metaphor reasons, because not only is their love like forbidden because they're in different armies, but it's also kind of forbidden because they can't touch each other, really. Mm-hmm. And that may become important by the end of the story. That's kind of also where the title comes from. So yeah, it works on 2 levels. That's why I really liked it.
Beautiful. And I mean, love is such specifically Heartbreak, I'll say, is such a universal, unfortunately, common thing among us silly, stupid humans. I suppose, what made you want to explore that concept, and with this story, is there a specific event for either of you that you sort of drew inspiration from regarding that sort of, like you said, forbidden touch or that forbidden love or compassion?
Nothing terribly specific for me. This was kind of a play on Romeo and Juliet, but also kind of a just wanted to do something that felt like it was going to be a fresh take on this idea of star-crossed lovers, because there's so many examples of that. So I just wanted to do something that, did something a little different. I don't, obviously you don't want me to spoil the ending. We did this last time too.
Avoiding spoilers. That's the hard part.
But it's just that big question of, having to choose the one you love, or maybe it's something bigger than both of you, or like society or whatever. It's just something that kind of, it overlaps a lot with, especially my experience the last couple of years, because I came out as non-binary like 3 years ago, and so just like things having to deal with that, like having to choose my own identity over like what society really wants me to do. Like it's got so many things that can be explored in such a simple story of just fire and ice person are hate each other but love each other at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I like it. I am curious, Luke, for you as the writer, because obviously writing is a very personal thing, taking ideas, getting them put down, and having it make sense, is in itself a talent, but trying to give it some meaning and, like you said, do a new spin on some fairly classic, almost archetypal stories. When it comes to, like you said, choosing your own identity and all of your own experiences in the last couple of years, how will those things impact the characters in this story?
So, I mean, beyond the obvious that we've already talked about, where they have to choose between each other or their people, like, it's a big question that they're just gonna have to realize sometimes you gotta make a big sacrifice in order to like do the thing that you love. So that's kind of, I think, the big impact that's going to be there. Like I said, I mean, I've obviously had my heart broken. I think everyone has, but like, there's no, I think, one specific experience that really informed this story, which is honestly kind of unusual for my writing, but it's more just kind of a feeling. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, a lot of my stuff like is pretty, not necessarily autobiographical, but like I take a moment that I've experienced and like try to put it in a new character, or just like try to explore it in a different way. Like, this thing is now a horrifying monster or something now to represent that thing that happened to me or that thing I was feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad that, like you said, you're trying new things with this story, and even from an inspiration basis, it's a little different, which is always exciting when we get creators going into new and different things, just like you sort of pushed John into a new creative way. And on that note, John, for the story that you guys have got here, as you mentioned earlier, you've done a lot of landscapes, the westerns and noirs, the different types of emotes that you've had your characters do now, because it's not, maybe the classic sort of shock and awe of a noir story, but instead you're going high fantasy. What kind of things did you, I guess, enjoy the most about getting to draw this? And I guess the burning question for me is, what portion, I guess, of this story is completed currently?
Is completely what?
Is completed. Like, are half the pages done? All the pages done?
About I'm drawing 10 pages in the book. I'm sorry, my headphones died, so if I get quiet, that's why. My phones used to have a headphone jack, and I used to be able to have corded headphones that worked good for this. But yeah,
it is unfortunate.
But I've got half of my 10 pages drawn, and then the 10 pages for the pages for the other story, the I Heard You Got Somebody, those are all lettered already, and then the covers painted, and so I have to finish I have 5 more pages to draw, and then 10 pages to letter. So
cruising. Okay, awesome. And like I was saying, so what were some of the different types of emotes that you weren't sort of used to drawing, or you're getting to explore because of this?
Well, like there's some interesting emotions that I feel like I kind of drew on the current landscape of, like, X kind of people, kind of blindly believing they're right. I'm not gonna name any names, but so there's definitely some thought of some of that kind of, rhetoric within some of the meetings, and like and in lieu of like the big moments you'd get in like a noir or a western, like a gunfight or something like that, I've really enjoyed doing some stuff like there's a scene, a heartfelt scene, and so as the scene goes, the sky clears, like it's cloudy, and then it gets clearer and clearer, and then the last shot is a really big panel with a just big revealed sky behind it, and doing a like a page turn reveal in a more like instead of violence, having it be like something beautiful,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying getting to explore, well, it is Heartbreak, a lighter side to storytelling. I did want to mention really quick, we've got Timothy Lee dropping a comment of just a bunch of very happy smiley faces. Thank you, Timothy. Then I guess in that case, when it comes to the story, then, so the next couple things I guess I want to touch on, because we've covered the story, what it's about, again, without spoilers. So if folks want to go ahead and get the book, all they've got to do, Google Summer's End on Kickstarter. It's scrolling along the bottom of the screen there for proper spelling. They can support the book. $5 gets you the regular digital, $10 gets you the deluxe, and then you can get into physicals, or you can just buy original pages. The cover that John did is already sold. Congratulations, John. I guess when it comes to your team, then the two of you specifically, did you guys connect through the Comics Jam, or was there another project you've worked on together previously? What was the forging of your team like?
Yeah, we met on at the Comic Jam. I think the first comic we did with each other that I don't think ended up getting published, but it was the theme was sword fight, and so I literally made floating swords fight each other with faces. Because
right on.
I was kind of trying to be a troll with that one, so it was kind of like a classic manga, like final fight where like, oh, the protagonist is hurt, but he gets back up one more time, but it was swords, and one of the swords got cracked.
That was so fun to draw. I still have that page somewhere.
Yeah, that was super fun comic, and that's where I think we first thought of John to do my story, because John told me when we did that, there's like, I'm gonna try to do a manga thing with it, and I was like, ooh, and so this was already kind of the vibe we were going for, so that's why John ended up getting my story for this.
Yeah,
I love it. I mean, that works well. I'm curious, John. As you mentioned, some of the other previous projects you've done are more modern sort of type stories. Are they also more manga leaning, or are they sort of more Western comics?
One of them is in black and white. The first story I did for Containment Breach was during COVID, and it was for a group called Fugitive Poems, run by my friend Christian De Matteo, who's also in the Comics Jam, actually. But
it's Comics Jam all the way down.
Yeah, it's the place to be. But I did. It was outbreak at the zoo, and something got into the zoo and made all the animals go berserk, because the writer asked me, what do you like to draw? And I was like, I love drawing animals, but I won't draw them getting hurt. So I made a point of drawing the animals like going crazy, but also at the end saying animals crazy but okay. Like on a newspaper.
I love it. And you know what? I appreciate that. As a huge animal lover myself, blatant violence against animals, not my favorite thing. So thank you for some crazy but a-okay animals.
Yeah.
It's one thing I like to ask about, because I find the way that comic creators come together, especially now with the internet, we'll have teams coming up of a writer from, say, North America, an artist from, I don't know, Brazil, someone from France, someone from Mexico, and just wild and crazy. So for your experience, though, because like you said, John, you're in Seattle. Luke, remind me, if you're comfortable, what area are you from, and be as vague or specific as you're happy with?
I'm from St. Louis.
St. Louis, love it.
Midwestern.
Yeah. Now, are you and John able to physically, like when you're doing the Comics Jam, I'm assuming it's online because of that, correct?
Yeah, we have a Discord where we do all of our stuff in.
And that Discord, is it sort of open access to anyone if someone wanted to be a part of that?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get in. We do have like admins, but like we'll just message them, say, hey, this person wants to, try their hand at writing comics or drawing comics. Like, can you send them an invite? And, they'll check out their social media just to make sure that they're not, an absolute monster. And then they'll send them an invite. So it's pretty easy. And we got people who've come in and like they've stayed for a week and just left because they're like, it's not for me. But then we've got people, like Christian De Matteo and like loads of others who've been there for years, and just like that is one of their favorite things to do. So we've got a pretty tight knit group.
Awesome, and I'm going to bring John back in here. Welcome.
Sorry,
back, John.
I pressed a button on accident.
Technology is the bane of all of our existence.
But also, I got some headphones. I got some headphones while I was out, so
this is why we do pen and paper, John.
Yeah, I had a tablet. It died.
These things happen. But yes, welcome back. I'm glad you've got some new headphones. And John, we were talking about basically the Comics Jam, how to get into it. What's your experience been like with the Comics Jam?
I love the Comics Jam. I've been a part of it for about 2 years now as an artist. It's really easy to just jump in and do a story when I have time or feel like it. Like when I don't have any active projects and I'm like, I feel like drawing something, I can just pop in and see what the current theme is and be like, oh, I'll take a script for that. And then, yeah, like I think the last one I drew was in maybe December.
Cool.
But it's like just a really it's a really open community for people of all skill levels. Like I've seen people do silly little stick figure comics in there, and like it's just a good place to learn how to make comics.
I love it. And Luke was saying it's fairly easy to get in, just sort of reach out, the admins will go through, make sure you're not going to be a nice person there, and then let you in. You mentioned like themes, so is it like a monthly thing where it's a theme every month? Is it a quarterly thing, or is it just sort of whatever organically happens?
They do a weekly theme, and it's they'll give the writers, what is it, I've never written one before. Is it a 1 week deadline for writing the story?
Yeah, writers get 1 week to write the script. Artists get about 3 to 4 weeks, and then letterers get 1 week to letter the comic. But yeah, it's fairly breakneck if you want to write something for every theme.
Oh my God, you'd be pumping them out.
I probably draw like 3 a year. It's not like
exactly.
It's not a ton of them for me.
But is that where the Containment Breach anthology came from, like those stories?
You'd have to ask Christian and James about that. I didn't, but I met Christian on Twitter actually, and we connected on there, and I drew a bunch of random little one-page things here and there for him over the years, and he's probably got, I think he's got maybe 2 of my sketches on his walls that I've sent him. So we knew each other from before, and then he's partnered with James. Can't remember his last name. His Jam Lines on Twitter.
There you go, Jam Lines.
Yeah,
perfect.
But they do a good, or they're on maybe volume 4 now. I worked on volumes 1 and 2.
Yep. And I actually lettered a comic that's in volume 4. So
nice.
Sick. Okay, cool. Well, so for the folks out there, again, if you're interested in getting into comics, are needing to get your toes wet, or needing to meet people, because I think the biggest part about comics that puts it, in my opinion, above other art forms is the fact that the community is just, I find, ridiculously open, easy to talk to, easy to get into, and sort of find your crowd. What is the specific Discord? I know it's not a link, but the name, I guess, that someone would use to reach out.
I think it's just called the Comic Jam, because the Comic Jam's been operating at least 10 years, I've been told, if not more.
Wow.
Like for a long time, pumping out comics every week, 52 weeks a year. And like there's a lot of people who like have been in the Comic Jam who like are like bigger names in the indie community now. Like Doug Wood was part of the Comic Jam. Letter Squids, I think he started in the Comic Jam.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like like a lot of big names have started from just this community where everyone's just like, hey, if you want to come make comics, come here. We don't judge at all skill levels.
I love it. It's one of those things where, like I said, because the community is so open and highly supportive, I love that. So yeah, the more links and the more direction I can give people to get into it, happy to do it. So thank you both for sharing that. One question that sort of popped into my head about your story, Unity of Vapors, within the Summer's End comic. I guess, given that everything that's gone on in your life, Luke, like you're a parent now, everything that's gone on with you when it comes to coming out and your identity and just life, as well as Luke, whatever you've had going on over the last couple of years, especially with the pandemical times, how has making this story sort of changed the way that you maybe look on love, relationships, heartbreak, hopefully for the better, but how has it impacted you like that?
This story just it ends very hopefully, and especially with the stakes that are in the story, because I mean these two have to fight to the death, like, and make a decision. So like it's very hopeful. It's definitely shown me that like even in the darkest circumstances, like if you can choose each other, like you'll find a way. You'll find a way to make everything okay.
I like that. Awesome. What about you, John? I mean, you're I would imagine between yourself and Luke, you definitely, because you're drawing it, will spend the more time physically doing it. How has this story sort of made you change how you feel, or just made you feel about heartbreak, love, all that good stuff?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
I'm not sure.
That's okay.
Fair.
You got 5 more pages to draw, so you might figure it out.
I love it. On that, and one very important thing, when it comes to Kickstarters and people getting into them, especially if they've never done it before, is sort of understanding a timeline. So between the both of you, you've mentioned the first story, which I believe is 14 pages. Correct me if I'm wrong.
12 pages. I would say probably 10 pages of story, plus there's like a kind of opening double splash page that just kind of sets the scene.
Right on. I dig it. So, like you said, 10, 11-ish page story, is lettered, drawn, all that good stuff. The covers are done. And then, John, you're right now plowing through the next 5 pages to complete the book. If someone gets, say, just the digital copy, if they're really sheepish about it, they'll give you the $5. They'll get their digital copy and enjoy. Between the two of you and the other creators, because I appreciate it's a collaborative thing between all of you, what is the expected sort of completion timeline, and then what is the expected delivery?
So we've been marketing it as we want to have Summer's End to you by Summer's End. So
I love it.
That's kind of our goal, is to have the book completed and at least have the digital edition sent out by the end of the summer, so August, September. And I imagine we would have everything printed and started shipping in October.
Oh, beauty. Okay, perfect. So people can get in now, get a preview, have a taste of it. I think the coolest thing about Kickstarter is that some people don't like it, but I love that slight little delay where, cool, I give you my $5 now. It's $5. I might not have a coffee. I guess you guys don't have Tim Hortons where you're from.
They're in Indiana.
Starbucks. Oh, okay, cool. So you know what Tim Hortons is. You're not going to have
know
Starbucks
what you're talking about.
Coffee. It's just coffee.
We used to have a Tim Hortons in St. Louis, but it closed. And now the nearest Tim Hortons is in Indiana. I know that because my wife loved Tim Hortons. And so she's like, we should drive to Indiana just to get Tim Hortons.
That is some serious love of Timmy's. Tell your wife she's honorarily a Canadian always. That's so cool. But yes, basically it's the cost of a coffee, especially from Starbucks. And then people can forget about it and go, oh yeah, I backed that thing. And then all of a sudden it's going to show up either in an email, a physical. Who knows? They might get a page from the book. They might get the original cover and they can enjoy it, which I think is awesome. So what I do want to ask now for both of you is, I guess we'll start with maybe John this time, and then we'll go to Luke. John, if someone wants to follow you, find you online, support you, all that good stuff, where are you sort of most active, and where can they pick up your previous works immediately after they back this campaign?
I'm not sure if the first 2 volumes of Containment Breach are available on Fugitive Poems' website, but they likely are. Project Starless Daydream was recently released by Dauntless Stories, I think.
Right on.
Yep. Yeah, Dauntless, who they just partnered with Band of Bards, so they should hopefully be even easier to get Starless Daydream, which... Sorry, I'm hate to interrupt you, John, but I love Starless Daydream. It is a fantastic book. It was done for charity, and it's got 30 different artists on it.
Yeah, I drew the title pages. One of them was actually my first time using oil pastel as an adult.
There you go.
And the other one was a very rare digital drawing that I did. I do very much like drawing robots. I don't do it nearly often enough.
All right. Well, I know.
As for my socials,
for robots.
Yeah. As right. As for my socials, I'm actually mostly on Facebook at this point. I left Twitter when Elon Musk bought it, and have not gone back. I don't post on Instagram nearly often enough, but I am at John Jack Makes Comics on there.
Perfect.
Every time I think, man, when's the last time I posted on Instagram? I try to post to Instagram and probably do it every third time.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing the hard part. You're getting the comics made, and I think that counts a lot more. Perfect. And Luke, what about yourself? Where's the most active spot you are, and where can people get your previous stuff after backing this campaign?
I'm most active on Twitter and Blue Sky. Twitter's at Luke W. Henderson M, because at Luke W. Henderson is still taken by an account with like 15 followers that hasn't posted in like 10 years.
I'm assuming you've tried to reach out and be like, hey, can I have this?
Oh, yeah, no response.
Oh.
0 response. And at Blue Sky, I'm just at Luke W. Henderson. So I snagged that one. But other than that, I mean, I am on TikTok. If you follow me on TikTok, you'll probably be pretty disappointed. I've got some videos up there, but I don't do it regularly enough. I don't have the brain space to make minute-long videos at the amount that is really required for you to be popular on there.
Same.
Yeah. As far as my other stuff, I have a lot of my stuff posted on my Ko-fi website. That's where you can get a lot of my digital stuff. I do have some physical stuff on there, zines, past anthologies I've been a part of. I'm actually about to put up on there. I was in a Bob's Burgers fanzine that I actually drew. I drew a 2-page comic for that one. So that's my first, I guess, comic that's been published as an artist.
Congratulations, Luke. I love it. I dig it. I love the learning. I love that both of you now have definitely been pushed into new directions, trying new things. Congratulations, both of you. Again, absolutely, to the folks that are watching, go ahead, search up Summer's End, Tales of Heartbreak, back the campaign. There is 18 days left. They're more than halfway there, and the book is 5 pages from being done. So get in on it. Get in there. That being said, folks, time for some fun questions. I feel like you guys have both got an eclectic background and lead varying lives, so this first one should be fun at least. So I do often find that people who make comics read comics, and like myself, people who read comics often collect things. So why don't we start with John again this time? So John, of your collection of whatever it is, not necessarily comics, what's the thing that makes you the most happy? And I don't mean the most expensive, the most rare, but what's the thing in your collection that actually just makes you happy?
Judgmental Superman.
Judgmental Superman?
I think every office needs a Judgmental Superman. There's a Christopher Reeve Superman statue that Iron Studios did a few years ago, where he's standing on a post or standing on a flagpole with his arms crossed, and he just looks like, what are you doing scrolling TikTok right now? Go back to work.
Would it happen to be this one?
Yep, that's the one. Look at his face. He's like, get back to work, you lazy piece of crap.
That is such a judgmental face. Oh my god.
Oh my god! And he's just watching you as you work.
You just point it right at you while you're working, and you'll never scroll.
Oh,
he's got the one eyebrow up, and the shading on his eyelids is just so intense. Oh my god.
Wow. I mean, also very cool statue. I dig it. But yes, judgmental. Holy moly. And Luke, what about yourself? Again, maybe not the most expensive, not the most rare, but the thing that makes you happy.
I think last time I answered this question when I was here, I said my signed copy of Will Eisner's The Dreamer. But since then, I actually met Matt Kent
right on.
at a signing and had him sign a couple of my books. So now probably my favorite book is my signed copy of the first volume of Mind Management by Matt Kent.
Very cool. I did want to say, Luke, I asked this question because genuinely I like checking out stuff that's different from my own that maybe I don't know about. Maybe it's just not my thing, but get someone else who vets it for you. You go check it out. Not too long after the last time I had you on, I was in my local comic shop, which is Invasion Inc. in Richmond Hill here, and they actually had bought a collection, and within that collection was a first print of Dreamer. So I actually picked it up. I read it, and it is fantastic. So thank you for sharing that.
Can't go wrong with Will Eisner.
No, I mean, they have an award named after him for a reason.
Right.
But it was very good. And John, I will be printing a poster or something of this Judgmental Superman because I think it's fantastic.
You won't regret it.
It'll keep me motivated. That being said, we've got like 4.5 minutes left. So for my second last question, what is it currently that you're both reading?
So I'm kind of working through on Hoopla. You can just select by comic publisher. So I've just been reading a bunch of Silver Sprocket's new stuff, and I had to get my Goodreads up so I could name a couple of these but they're all very good. Silver Sprocket they publish a lot of like kind of very underground inspired, like kind of punk comics almost, but like just other stuff's fantastic. But recently I read Sunflowers by Keezy Young, which was an autobiographical comic about bipolar disorder that was heartbreaking, very good. And I also read Prokaryote Season by Leo Fox, and that book freaking wrecked me because it's like a fantasy book about this really toxic relationship, and one of them is like, oh, I wish I could just be a single cell organism so that way I didn't have to worry about all this stuff in life. I could just float around. I wouldn't have to worry about heartbreak or any of these other things. And it was very good, but that book broke me.
Oh. I mean, yeah, that sounds brutal. Just even being in a state where like that's the go-to. That's that would be nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, because this came up in conversation like yesterday, Silver Sprocket, is that not in some capacity? I know Jen Woodall works on it, but if I'm not mistaken, Jen owns it or something like that as well?
Possibly. They have definitely got a small staff. That's for sure. It's why I'm surprised they pump out as much as they do and the quality of stuff that they do.
Love it. I mean, again, comic book people, just like yourselves, find a way. And John, what about yourself? What are you currently reading?
I'm just riddled with the ADHD, so I'm reading several things right now. But pertinent to today, for black and white inspiration, I've been reading. It's a Fantagraphics put it out. It's called The Corpse of the Imjin. It's IMJIN, not Injin. But
not the slur.
Not the slur. But it's like Silver Age war comics, but they're black and white, and it's helping with some of like the crowd scenes and stuff. And there's that one, yeah, Corpse on the Imjin, and it's very good. Really interesting stories. Like there was one I read recently where it was set in the Pacific Theater during World War II, and a soldier was like sharpening his knife, being like, the first bad guy I meet, I'm gonna kill him, and it's gonna be great and stuff. And on the other side, there's a Japanese soldier sharpening his sword, being like, the first soldier I meet, I'm gonna kill him, it's gonna be great. And then they ended up killing each other, and it's like, who gained anything out of that? It was really good.
Harvey Kurtzman, that's very apropos for Harvey Kurtzman.
Yeah,
very anti-war.
Yeah, it's really good.
Brutal.
But also there's just like some really interesting, like dynamic layouts and stuff on the pages, and so it's helping me like think about ways to make like there's a lot of like crowd scenes in our story, a lot of group scenes, and it's helping me figure out ways to lay out group scenes and show certain things. I'm also reading totally different Aquaman by Paul Kuperberg from the 70s, which is so far fine.
Was that the one where his son gets kidnapped?
Yep.
Oh,
is that
no!
Where that comes from? Okay.
Oh no!
But like, there's things where like
Black Manta in there that just like did not age well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Excellent. I look forward to it. But like there's like scenes in it because it's 70s, so like pre-crisis, and there's stuff like Aquaman gets carried off by eagles, and there's like an editor's note, mind you, these are sea eagles, and I'm like, where's the line with the sea creatures? Like if I was like, if a moose swims between islands, is it a sea creature? Is it a sea creature while it's in the water, or is it a sea creature in perpetuity after it leaves the water?
And if I can say one thing about that book too, this isn't a terribly huge spoiler. There's one scene where Aquaman throws man-of-war jellyfish on some henchmen, and they're just fine. That would kill them.
Oh yeah, like
like they'd be dead.
Oh,
that book is wild.
How does he control jellyfish? They don't have brains. I have so many questions.
Oh yeah,
that 1970s Aquaman run is very wild. They tried to make it very dramatic and very like so sad in the end, and I just don't think it worked.
Oh no.
I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm glad you are, John. Enjoy the hokey, the maybe not aged well, but the different, I'll say. Because yeah, some of the I work at a comic shop called Nowhere Comics in downtown Toronto. And the owner is constantly buying huge collections, so we'll run into really old stuff sometimes. And I'm just looking at the covers, it's like, oh yeah, it's totally a different time. Like the 70s, the 80s, they were trying to do some wild stuff. Not even like, broaching on like racism, just like the way that they were trying to tell stories, they were pushing and attempting. And often failing, but I mean, that's how we got here today, right? So
right.
I can't blame them. It's just when you see it on the other side of learning, it's like, ooh. But absolutely, thank you for sharing those, both of you. I guess my last question then would be, who do you think we should have on the show next?
I think you should have Doug Wood on if you haven't had him on before. He was
prettiest eyes in comics, I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I think so. He's
beautiful
got a
blue
Kickstarter
eyes
running right now. He's got a Kickstarter running right now, one, but also just he had to take a long hiatus from making comics due to his health, and he's come back like bigger and badder than ever. And like me personally, I just want him to succeed. It was actually his anthology that these stories were originally supposed to be in. So
okay.
A lot of us wouldn't be together making these stories if it weren't for Doug.
All right, and that's, like you said, Doug Wood. Would his anthology, or the current book, be called Loser Pool #1?
Yep, that's it.
Perfect. I've got it up so I won't forget. Thank you. In that case, absolutely, both of you have been wonderful tonight. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show.
No, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And to the folks out there, 1, Summer's End on Kickstarter. Go back it now. $5 gets you the digital. $10 gets you the deluxe digital, which frankly has more covers, more content. So just get that. Or I don't know, go buy some original pages by John here. Absolutely comment what you think of the book, of these two, of their previous works. Let me know what you think, and subscribe for more. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Golden age to present, digest to oversize. Never miss new comic day. Yeah, no surprise. So where's my no prize? Check the letter columns. Can't find issue 2? Collector problems.